The evening sun cast long shadows across the New Mexico plains, painting the land in hues of gold and crimson. The ranch house stood quiet against the horizon, its wooden beams weathered but proud, much like the man who lived there. His name was Ethan Cole, a cowboy whose hands were roughened by years of hard work, yet whose heart carried a softness rarely seen in men hardened by the frontier. Ethan never sought attention. He was a man of few words, content with the rhythm of ranch life, the lowing of cattle, the creak of saddle leather, the whisper of the wind through mesquite. Yet, unbeknownst to him, his actions were about to echo louder than words ever could. It began one fateful afternoon in the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. Ethan had ridden higher than usual, chasing stray cattle that had wandered off the trail. The air was thin and sharp, filled with the scent of pine and rock dust. As he dismounted to check a steep ledge, a sound cut through the stillness, a guttural growl, deep and primal. His eyes shot to the source. Just yards away, a mountain lion crouched low, muscles taut like coiled steel, its golden eyes fixed on a figure trapped against the cliff wall. It was an elder, his silver hair tied back, his frame frail but upright, his hand clutching a carved walking stick. Ethan's heart lurched. He recognized the man. Though they had never spoken, he had seen him from afar, the respected elder of a nearby Apache community. The elder's eyes locked with his, not in panic, but in a quiet, dignified acceptance. It was as if the man was ready to face whatever came. But Ethan wasn't. Without hesitation, Ethan stepped forward. He had no rifle, only the revolver at his side and the courage in his chest. The mountain lion snarled, tail lashing, ready to spring. Ethan fired once into the dirt, the sharp crack echoing off stone. The beast flinched but held its ground. He fired again, this time close enough to graze the air beside its ear. With a furious yell, the lion retreated into the shadows of the trees, disappearing as suddenly as it had appeared. Ethan exhaled, shoulders dropping in relief. He approached the elder slowly, offering a hand. "You all right, sir?" he asked softly. The elder studied him with deep, unreadable eyes before grasping Ethan's arm. His voice, though aged, carried weight. "You risked yourself for me, cowboy." "Why?" Ethan shrugged, embarrassed by the question. "Didn't think about it, just knew I couldn't stand by and watch." The elder smiled faintly. A man who acts before thinking often reveals the truth of his heart. They descended the mountain together, step by cautious step. Ethan offered his horse, insisting the elder ride while he walked beside him. Not a word was spoken for miles, but something had shifted, an unspoken bond forged in danger and trust. Days passed, and Ethan returned to his life. He thought little of the encounter, chalking it up to simple decency. But in the Apache community, word spread swiftly. The elder, known as Nahul, was more than just a respected figure. He was a keeper of stories, a bridge between generations, a living embodiment of wisdom. For a cowboy to protect him without thought of reward carried profound meaning. And so, one quiet morning, as Ethan saddled his horse for another day of work, he heard a low rumble in the distance, not thunder, but the rhythmic beat of hooves. He stepped onto the porch, squinting at the horizon. What he saw made his breath catch. 50 Apache warriors rode in formation, surrounding his ranch. Their horses moved as one, dust rising in golden plumes. Their faces were painted with solemn patterns, their spears and rifles gleaming in the sun. Ethan's first instinct was unease. He removed his hat, standing tall but calm. Waiting. At their head rode Elder Nahul, his presence commanding respect. The warriors reined in their horses, encircling the ranch house in silence. The only sound was the restless snort of animals and the whisper of wind through feathers and beads. Ethan swallowed hard, uncertain. "Morning," he said, his voice steady despite the hammering of his heart. Nahul dismounted, moving toward him with the grace of someone far younger. His gaze softened as he raised his hand. "Cowboy Ethan Cole, you saved my life upon the mountain. Among my people, such an act does not pass like dust in the wind. It binds us." Ethan shifted uneasily. "I didn't do it for thanks. And that," Nahul said with a knowing smile, "is what makes it worthy of honor." At his signal, the warriors dismounted as one, forming a semicircle before Ethan's porch. Then, to Ethan's astonishment, they struck their spears into the ground, bowing their heads in silent tribute. The weight of the gesture pressed against him like a tide. He, a simple cowboy, was being honored as if he were a chief. Emotion swelled in his chest. "I'm no hero," he murmured. Nahul stepped closer. "A hero is not one who seeks glory. A hero is one who acts with heart when no one is watching. You saved not just me, but the stories I carry, the wisdom of generations, the spirit of my people. For that, you will forever be remembered." Ethan's throat tightened. He thought of his late father, who had raised him to respect every man, no matter his color or creed. "If my PA were here," Ethan whispered, "he'd tell me this moment means more than 1,000 medals." The warriors began to sing, a low, haunting chant that rose like smoke into the morning air. It was a song of gratitude, of brotherhood, of lives interwoven. Ethan stood motionless, tears blurring his vision, as the sound washed over him. In that moment, he realized something profound. Kindness was not a small thing. It was a river that flowed beyond himself, touching lives he might never fully know. Life on the ranch changed after that day. The Apache community and Ethan's ranch became unlikely allies. Warriors helped mend fences and drive cattle. Ethan shared tools, seeds, and provisions. Stories were exchanged around campfires, of ancestors, of lost loves, of battles fought and friendships forged. One evening, Nahul visited Ethan once more. Do you see, cowboy? One act of compassion can change the course of many lives. What you did upon the mountain rippled outward, binding our people and yours. Ethan nodded slowly, his voice thick with emotion. I only did what I hoped someone would have done for me. Nahul placed a hand over his heart. And that hope is the very thread that weaves humanity together. Years later, when Ethan's name was spoken in the towns along the frontier, it was not of the cattle he raised or the land he owned. It was of the day 50 warriors surrounded his ranch, not in anger, but in honor. Of the cowboy who saved a life without hesitation. The tale became legend, told to children by firelight, passed down through generations. And always, it ended the same way. That true strength is not measured by the power of one's arm, but by the kindness of one's heart. And so, Ethan Cole's legacy lived on, not as a cowboy of wealth or fame, but as a man who proved that even in a divided land, compassion could build a bridge stronger than stone. Sparkle's final message. The story of Ethan Cole reminds us all, whether cowboy, elder, warrior, or stranger, that humanity's greatest victories are not won with weapons, but with courage, kindness, and the willingness to act when it matters most.